Well, it's all about talent acquisition. And Mike Norvell and his staff are doing their damnedest right now. And they have landed a couple of good ones here in recent days. We appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football, breaking down Florida State with all of you every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And we want to let you know right out of the gate, you transition straight from this show right into George's Renegade Report live stream that he's got right after we're done here, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. You can keep talking Florida State football on through the night. George, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. You said it. We've got a guy from Tomahawk Nation. He's a staff writer there. Jordan Silversmith was kind enough to come on. So we're going to take a step back, kind of look at how the staff has worked out so far, and obviously the portal, how that's going, and what we got coming back. And we can get into all that good stuff here today. We got exits, entries, all kind of fun stuff.
So let's get to what we know for sure, and that's that James Williams, the edge rusher from Nebraska, and Gunnar Hansen, the offensive lineman from Vandy, are in the fold. So how do you feel about these two?
From the outset, probably the two most important portal guys in this entire class. Once you identified them, like they're going to be like just two stalwarts of this class. We'll start with James Williams. We've talked about him ad nauseum on here. It was like a foregone conclusion just from listening to him talk about Pot Roast, Terrence Knighton, and how close their relationship is. Seemed like one that FSU would really have to, mess up to not get him. Well, to get that officially done and get him in this class is huge. 6'6", 260-pound defensive end, the perfect guy to kind of fit into that scheme. He's coming along as a redshirt sophomore over there. Had 7.5 sacks in 2 years, 5 sacks this year. Played a ton on third down, and just when you heard Mike Norvell talk about him, I think it was just like relentless, just effort, and just what you see on tape is just everything you want. He's the kind of perfect mix of, we talked a lot about needing production, proven production, regardless of the level. If it's at FCS, it needs to be bonkers production. If it's at, the Power 4 level, as long as you're a receiver, you need to have 500 plus yards. If you're a running back, I would have liked to have seen you had 700 something yards last year. That type of production. So he's right on that line. It wasn't crazy, but sacks, 5 sacks at his position, pretty impressive in that 3.35. And he's just going to get a lot better. And he's got all the size, all the intangibles. It's kind of what folks been asking for a little bit more of. Mix it up down here. Get one of these lumberjacks down here to come cut some wood on that edge. It's going to be fun to watch. So, yeah, just a big, big addition. And I guess I can get into this now while we're talking about defensive end. Everybody's seen everybody hit the portal as far as defensive end. We'll get into the latest one here in a second, but Byron Lewis, Marvin Jones Jr., Tamiwa Durajaye, Dante Anderson, Lamont Green Jr., Boots. We've talked about it. The majority of these edge rusher types under 250-pound DNs, they're gone. Like the only one left on the roster is Aaron Hester. But we'll get into what's left on this D-line once we go through the portal guys and stuff. And I think you'll be pretty impressed. I think just understand the scheme change when you realize, I know a lot of people see 7 defensive ends going out the door and you only sign 1 or 2, and they think there's going to be a big discrepancy. But in this new offense, defensive end from that 4-2-5 on the weak side, that transitions to offensive linebacker, jack, whatever you want to call it. And I'll go ahead and talk about it. So we got there. Patrick Payton. You get James Williams, Patrick Payton hits the portal. That's the big news. People were wondering. I don't think he was out and out told to leave, but pretty much like it's going to be on the cheap. If you're going to be here, you're going to be earning it. Nothing's given. It's kind of funny. I was just talking about it last night on the Renegade Rundown. Like, I thought if he was going to have a chance to flourish from what we've seen this year, given his role in past teams as being a decoy, he had 11 pass defense coming into the year, all the things. And then this year, just not being able to get off of these blocks against these tackles, just not at all. All of his plays that he made were when the quarterback was reading him on his own read and just, decided to, we're gonna leave him alone. So he would get upfield and make a play, or they bring him inside and confuse the defense, and neither offensive line would touch him. Those are when he made his plays. And there's all kind of highlights of him just like giving up and going and running downfield in coverage as it is. Like, it seemed like if he was going to stay, it possibly could work. I think, as soon as he hit the portal, I think the different services had him as like the number 2 player in the entire portal, which is, I get it. He had a bunch of stats when he had, 3 NFL D linemen next to him, 2 of them which were first rounders. It did not translate this year. It was bad. He didn't get in no greater shape. We won't get into the intricacies of why the conspiracy theories of why that is or isn't, but don't cry too much over these losses at these defensive ends that are quote unquote pretty much linebackers in this new defense. Look forward to the young linebackers in the defensive line. We got, Kevin Wynn, KJ Sampson, Daniel Lyons, D.D. Holmes. There's a lot of good names there, that remain. Demore Flagg, Denos White, Daryl Jackson Jr. coming back. So all that stuff really highlights how big this piece is to have James Williams and now Daryl Jackson as two premier roles. And a guy like Daniel Lyons or KJ Sampson, who are just defensive tackles in the previous scheme, they can play that strong side, defensive end in this scheme. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You could imagine Lyons, Daryl Jackson Jr., and James Williams lining up, and that's going to be as formidable of a front as there's going to be in the ACC next year, if I had to guess.
So, George, I'm appreciating this information and this take on Patrick Payton, because I think this happens a lot, that either a guy's a huge recruit and that just stays with him in regards to that kind of respect, that kind of adulation from the fan base and so forth. Or maybe not necessarily the fan base, because the fan base is watching the games all the time. And if they're staying up on things, then they realize, okay, this guy's underachieving. But nationally, people latch on to names and there's name recognition there. Now, Patrick Payton, I'm not going to discard, like you said, his early production in his career, but obviously the attention to the offenses was on guys like Jermaine Johnson, Jared Verse, Braden Fisk. Those guys were gathering up so much attention. But with Johnson, then Verse being the studs off the edge in order, and then them leaving, that one of our big conversations over the off season was, okay, is Patrick Payton ready to be the next guy that's going to be a star edge rusher? Obviously, that wasn't the case. I still look at that. When I saw Patrick Payton left, I thought, wow, I knew he didn't have the kind of year that those guys had. I knew that he wasn't that guy, nor was he expected to be, but he even didn't meet the expectations that you and other people set for him that knew what was going on. But I still saw it as a bigger loss maybe than it really is, because again, there's a high level of name recognition there with Patrick Payton.
It happens. We talk about this all the time. This is the trap that Florida State fell into last year. A perfect example is the other guy who's hit the portal. There may have been more, but I do so many shows. The next guy who hit the portal the last time I was live, Sean Murphy, a guy who was highly touted out of high school, all this, hype, and he was a blue chip guy when he went into the portal. Roydell Williams, blue chip when he went into the portal. It's one of these things that I think is broken with the current portal rankings, and it's why I'm not quite so enamored with them. The last time I looked, Florida State was up to number 12 with just 5 commits. That could have changed because people are committing nonstop, and this was, again, yesterday before I went live. But yeah, the portal rankings are so flawed because even the ones because some of them will straight up say, okay, we're ranking him just based off of high school. Some will give him a portal grade. And even those portal grades, like a Luke Kromenhoff, to that point, he took 84 snaps and was sacked 25 times. And you say, oh, well, that's horrible. Well, DJU and Brock Glenn took 250 snaps, and they were only sacked 25 times. So, there's room for growth. He showed some good things, but the second he hit the portal, he was also the number 2 overall player in the portal, and the second he got in there. So, I don't know. If he was truly that, if teams and coaches around the country valued him as that, I think he wouldn't have ended up at Mississippi State. So that's just kind of how that goes. And we've preached this. Florida State did not need to go that round this year. It's not about the sparkly, shiny, guy that they're hyping up to go to the national championship teams or playoff teams necessarily. It's more about just proven production. A guy like Gunnar Hansen that started 35 games at Vanderbilt, 20-something of them at left tackle. Caden Kittler, a guy you had on campus at offensive line the past couple of days, started at center for UCF in the top 10 rushing offense in the Power 4. You lost out on a guy like Marcellus Marshall, who just committed somewhere else. It's so hard to keep track where everybody went. I think it's Minnesota. He was on campus last week. It's, maybe on the weekend. I can't remember the exact dates. But with these portal guys, if you get them on campus, my rule is pretty much if they don't commit within 24 to 48 hours, if they make it to that next visit, chances are they're gone. So that's how this is so big. I know I'm kind of rattling through things. We haven't even got to Gunner until I just brought him up, but yeah, it's an exciting time. There's all kind of moving parts, but locking in Gunner Hansen, the 6'5", 330-pound offensive tackle from Vandy, James Williams, like just two anchors in this portal class. To really build around, to have like we haven't had a legitimate left tackle at Florida State in a long time. It's supposed to be Darius Washington this year. He was injured, whatever the case may be. But yeah.
That's an actual stat. Luke Kromenhoek with 84 dropbacks and 25 sacks.
Yes. I did not look it up myself. I can't remember. It was War Chan or 247 posted it, or Corey Clark or somebody was talking about it on a podcast. But yeah.
84 That's an unbelievable stat right there.
Yeah, which, I mean, it was tough games, tough teams. The offensive line is what it is, but the start comparison to the other two quarterbacks, 250 snaps or dropbacks is pretty stark. And we were talking about it. It was talked about on the podcast. I know James talked about it on his podcast a couple of times. We talked about it. Like a lot of those sacks were on him. But it's a tough spot for a true freshman. And you start seeing ghosts when your left tackle is just whiffing on, every other play. But yeah, when you're looking at the portal, there's such a mixture of potential versus production. When everything coming out of high school is potential, regardless of the potential in high school or the production in high school, it's all based on potential. But these grades are it's kind of like the preseason polls and how we get upset when, a team that starts off unranked has to go 6-0 before they enter it, and they're like 4-0 in conference play. Meanwhile, Alabama or Georgia can lose a game or even two and still be ranked ahead of them at that point, just due to the sheer veracity of the polls. Like, it's the same thing, with these portal guys. Like, if a guy didn't get recruited worth the heck out of high school, but he started at Vandy for 2 years, he may not be as high as the freak guy who's the redshirt freshman offensive tackle, 6'7", 1 million pounds, coming out of Bama, who hasn't shown anything. Another guy that we got, was the offensive guard from Florida or from Bama, same type of thing. Promising prospect, all that, size and all that, but didn't have a ton of experience. And he was the worst offensive lineman in all of college football this year. So I don't even have to call his name. But yeah, it's production versus, potential. And that's like one of the themes of our show we're going to do next after this is like how great this staff has done of adjusting and fixing that and being very good in who they've targeted, not wasting time. I know you saw Caden Salter commit to Colorado. Florida State fans are really hard on them getting Castellanos out the gate. But my take from that on day one is like, there's not a higher floor. That's for dang sure of any quarterback in the country. You may have had a higher ceiling with Salter or the Mexico quarterback, but no, the perfect guy that can go, and he's already recruited for the offense. You've seen what he did in 2023 with his legs, rushing for like 1,300 yards. He still has some 30 touchdowns, 3,000 yards passing, even with the high interception ratio. They got somebody in. They had a plan, and they went after. They identified, got these guys to come into the portal from UCF and Nebraska. Stephon Thompson, the linebacker, they've already got in. You got Marcus and Douglas, a tight end that fits perfect out of the portal to come in here. They're really, building a foundation and not getting, blown away by potential and recruiting the rankings. If you're ready for the Miami recruiting rant, I can unleash my theory on why they're, a facade. And I talked all about that last summer. I wrote all these things on Twitter. Everybody was retweeting them during the year when they're undefeated. And now all the Miami Twitter people are saying the same things they were tweeting me and laughing about when it comes to the composite and the guys they brought in that were, highly recruited, but were potential projects that have now transferred out. It's a different age in college football. It's a different deal. So if you're going to be Georgia and can just sign 30 blue chips every single year and keep the 5 to 10 that work out, and you'll constantly have that backbone there. But for the most class, like most of these teams in college football, the 22 recruiting class, it's evaporated. Those guys are different schools, unless they're a star and they're getting ready for the draft this year. So you have to really, it's like the free agency in NFL, versus the draft. when you look at it. And that area with the portal, the young portal kids, the freshmen that are transferring, it's a tough mix. I just get those guys out of high school. It's got to be a freak or somebody that just really wants to come to your program. You get in trouble chasing those guys around. Again, Florida State did. They got bit really bad last year. They've learned their lesson, I believe.
Good stuff out of Georgitis, and you can get more of George and his special guest from
Tomahawk Nation.
Yes, coming up on the Renegade Report. That's right after our show, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The Renegade Report right here on YouTube. I know there's a couple other guys in play that are visiting. Deuce Robinson, I'm telling Florida State fans right now, that guy can play. I watch everybody play. I see a lot of USC. And, man, if they get Deuce Robinson, I like him.
Yeah, he's a year younger than James Williams, but similar in that vein. He's already got I believe 795 yards. I can't even remember, maybe 5 touchdowns. I could have that stat wrong. But he's a player. He was a stud at USC. He was going to be a big part of their plans. Again, just a huge human being at like 6'6", 220, 230 pounds. The perfect fit for this Gus Malzahn offense when you think of the huge guys they've had to have success in that one-on-one matchup. Yeah, he's a guy that has production proven at the highest level, plus 2 years to go, and a ton of potential. There's a tie there, obviously, with his dad, Dominic Robinson. The worry was, even though his dad, Dominic Robinson, played at Florida State, he grew up in Arizona, and he stopped at Arizona State before he got here. I mentioned that 24-hour rule. Like, for the most part, it seems like if they visit, they go somewhere else, you don't get to commit within 24 hours. It's not looking good for you. So he's supposed to be here tomorrow, supposed to be flying in for his Florida State visit, alongside another guy I'll get to next after Deuce. And yeah, I can't remember, maybe Brennan Sinone put in a crystal ball for him. So he's trending that way to Florida State. As I had mentioned on the previous weeks here, I think we talked about it the day he hit the portal on the show. It's one of the unique opportunities where you can go after these top players in the portal, just like James Williams, just like with a Gunnar Hansen. Like, there's an in there, there's a particular fit, him being a legacy, having all the roots here in Tallahassee, the legend Dominic Robinson's father. So it's one of these guys you can chase. And it's not like he's not one of these kids that's going to, run a ransom or play games or this and that. They've had a relationship with the kid, again, with the ties there with his father and recruiting him out of high school and everything else. So, yeah, if they could get him, it would be a huge, huge commitment and one of the bigger names they'll be able to sign. And who knows? Like I said, as you get this offensive line, you got Castellanos in here. You got Gunnar Hansen on board. You got these guys rolling in. The big thing I mentioned, Caden Kittler, the center that was already on campus the past couple of days. We can get his commitment in the next 24 hours. The next one we're looking at is already crystal balled here, and that's Adrian Medley, a guy who started a ton of games at offensive guard for UCF and is actually from the Pensacola area, right here where I'm from. So it's an easy move. Like, he's got to go past Tallahassee to get home. So you can see why he gets crystal balled, and all of a sudden you plug in, you got a left tackle. Now you've got a guard that started. If you can get the starting center from UCF, you start to get pretty happy when you look at the young guys you brought in. And there's going to be some pieces on this offensive line. I didn't study that and kind of look at who's left on that from the roster, but there were, some pretty good. Andre Otto showed some potential as a freshman. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to get the young man, the transfer from Florida, back, but if you could, he was one of the better. And Richie Leonard, one of the best O-linemen we had. So yeah, there's some pieces there. We'll see what happens with Lucas Simmons and some of these other young guys. But yeah, if you can put that line together, if you can get the Medley to commit, possibly Caden Kittler, all of a sudden you land a Deuce Robinson. Like, you can make some hay here in the next couple of weeks of the portal. People are hitting every day, and yeah, you have to have something to sell. That was my message to the fans that were upset that thought we settled on Thomas Castellanos. Like, what are you selling them on? What are you going to sell this tip-top quarterback on? You have no O-line, like proven O-line. You got nobody committed. You're not sure what's going to go on here. But as this thing comes together, you can really see it build. And yeah, again, one of the subjects that we're going to talk about tonight, the expectations could be rising. I said that 7 wins is a grand slam. when the season ended. Like if you could do that, that gets you all the momentum. You could do like Florida, like a Texas Tech is doing right now at 8-4, and really have all the momentum and sell the brand, the coaching staff, all that. But who knows? We're going to see. Bama's hemorrhaging some portal players. It's not the same exact Alabama team we've seen. We should have a left tackle that can handle what they send our way and some other things. It will be fun to see. You never know. You beat Bama, things can get scary in Florida State for that year. If anything, I know Florida State's going to make some money on that game. Listening to folks talk about the tickets, they're up there, so it's going to be a big one. We'll open with a bang, kind of like we did in Ireland, but hopefully it goes our way this year.
Is that a neutral site game?
No, it's a home and home, so it's going to be at Florida State. The stadium renovation's complete. Coaching staff renovation's complete. Roster renovation's complete. It'll be a fun one.
Still have time before Christmas, folks, for the college football in your life, fan in your life, or yourself. Disputed National Champions. Good read. You'll enjoy it. Not just a history book. I won't go through the whole detail, but you can read it right there on Amazon. Look it up, Disputed National Champions. I've left the link there in the chat. It's only $9.99. Catch George at 7 p.m. Eastern on his channel, The Renegade Report, with the latest on Florida State football and more in-depth analysis on how the coaching staff has prepared for the transfer portal and is in the process of executing. Your old buddy Destin Hill, I don't know if you saw this, he signed with LSU.
Yeah, I think everybody in Knoll Nation caught it because he had some backhanded remarks there. Some not anything crazy, but one of these like, why'd you choose LSU or whatever? Oh, well, they actually have the resources and the this and the that. Kind of disparaging towards FSU on his way out, which is really rubbed the fan base the wrong way. A guy that the whole fan base, the coaching staff was super patient with, super supportive of, held a scholarship for him 2 years removed from his commitment date due to off-field things that we won't get into, and he's underage at that time. But just felt like a punch to the gut. Somebody you were really excited for this year, he ends up getting hurt and can't play. So for him to make those comments, it's kind of like sour grapes. I don't know. Is he saying that he could have played if he'd have had better physical therapy or something? Maybe he could have got back on the field. I'm not sure what he was getting at, but yeah, one of those things where all that goodwill was lost with one comment and one flip. He's from that area at Nicar High School. It is what it is. Good luck. It's a shame we couldn't get it going here, but who knows? Part of that's probably the freshman wide receiver we're bringing in, Javen Boggs, who is Mr. High School, Mr. Florida last year. I'm not sure if he won it or if he's up for it again, but it's an absolute ridiculous year again this year. And he kind of fits that role along with Jalen Lucas coming back, hopefully, if he's nice and healthy. He was like the only hope for our offense before he went down. So we'll be just fine, and we'll see. They're still after some wide receivers. Have one in Omega Blake from Charlotte on campus yesterday. I'm not sure if he was here today as well, but we'll see if we can land him and some other guys. Yeah, things are on the up and up. Of course, Deuce Robinson being a big one. If you can land him, that'd be really amazing for that recruit or that portal class to go along with the JUCO guy you brought in, Jordan Scott, another 6'7", kind of tower of the wide receiver.
Folks, please hit the like button. And when you go to George's show next, please hit the like button there. This is what it means. It doesn't seem like a big deal. You're just clicking like. That doesn't stroke my ego or George's ego. That's not the purpose of it. It is between the comments, the likes, the view duration. It tells YouTube that you like what you're watching. Therefore, they send it to the people that watch all the time. So if you're subscribed here, you get this stream and it's going to be right in front of you when you turn on YouTube. But what YouTube does is they say, okay, 1,000 people watched this and nobody liked it, nobody commented, nobody did anything. Oh, they must not have liked it. Or 1,000 people watched this and we got 200 likes and we got 200 comments and so forth. So other people they'll like it too. So they shove it out into the traffic, and that's what builds the channel. and we'll build George's channel as well. So when you show up at these shows, and again, when you show up at 7 o'clock on George's channel, like and comment and engage with everything that he's doing. And then that indicates to YouTube to push that video, that live stream out to more traffic and more people discover the channel.
That's why consistency is so important, because you do a great show. Like you said, you've got 2,000 views and, oh man, we got 300 likes. And then you have a crappy show the next time that YouTube sends out to everybody. And then you get your 2,000 views but only 20 likes. Then you got to work your way back up the algorithm. But yeah, consistency from us, consistency from you guys that are already subscribed, hitting that like button. It's huge. We can't, obviously the view duration, that's a little bit more inside baseball, but just hitting the like and the sub, that's huge. The thing about being subbed is if you're subbed, you're going to see our video no matter what we're doing in the algorithm. But it's like 50-50. I don't know what Mark is, but half of you guys, you're unsubscribed watching right now. But hit the sub, hit the like. We really appreciate it. We'll do our best every week. Every Wednesday at 6 Eastern right here at the Voice of College.
There you go. It's funny. Well, you guys may not necessarily find it funny coming off 2-10, but that you win 2 football games and Ryan Fitzgerald is arguably the best place kicker in the country, and Alex Mastromano was named consensus All-America as a punter. So you got arguably you put the 2 guys together and you've got the best kicking specialists in the country.
Without a doubt. You wasted them, but great kids. They got, screwed over in the all conference selections and things of that nature, but that's because of the team, but those guys, amazing. I mean, he was hitting 59 yarders, 55 yarders like it wasn't nothing, perfect on the whole year, not something that happens very often. And Mastromano was such a victim of field position that it was rare that he got those, downs inside the 10-yard line, because you're barely even getting it out there. It's not like he was hitting out of the back of the end zone. He was just punting from the other end zone. So I believe he had the highest average, one of the better hang times, all that stuff. But yeah, just the 2-10 ball club winning.
Absolutely. Consensus All-America. So that must mean the Sporting News, AP Walter Camp, AFCA, Football Writers Association. There you go.
Yep. And is Ray Guy the punter or the kicking award?
Ray Guy is the punter.
What's the kicking award?
Lou Groza.
I believe our guy was actually a finalist, one of the final 3 for the Groza Award, even though he was second team All ACC. So go figure. I get him confused. I was really confident that Ray Guy was the punter, but I could not think of the kicker. I have to remember that. Shout out to our Groza Award winners out there. Our guy Aguayo back in the day, he didn't go perfect, but he kicked a whole hell of a lot more balls than our guy did this year, and he was like 98% or something like that.
All right. Folks, we appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Hit the like button on your way out. George, anything else we need to hit on before you're on your way to your 7 p.m.?
We could touch on Mike Norvell restructuring his contract.
Oh, absolutely.
I hit on a lot of the things that the fan base wanted. I hadn't mentioned yet the fact that they really strengthened their ties with Florida recruiting, got a lot of younger guys on the staff to go with all the other things with getting the quarterback in, getting the O-line coach, getting the D-line coach, Odell moving off staff. These are all homegrown things. Super high on early, how they finished the recruiting class, how they finished the portal. Another thing that, I didn't preach about that much. It just seems like it's just, when you look into the economy and the Wall Street and you learn how businesses run and stuff, the older you get, money's just money, and it takes money to do something. So I'm just kind of whatever. I'm going to pay my Battles In thing every week. But she made a lot of great points about economy's hard out there. Like the majority of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. So anybody that's a booster or pays into Battles In and things of that nature, they owe it to us to get it together. Maybe not be so butthurt when you get criticism and things of that nature. And Mike Norvell, to his credit, has been great with that. Great with it. A lot of the people, the players that have remained, the staff, things of that nature. And another sign of that was him saying, okay, I'm going to take $4.5 million less this year, whether it's his idea or FSU's idea or Jimmy Sexton's idea. the greatest Asian in the game. He's going to get paid $5.5 million this year, and it's only restructured for this year, not the final 3-4 years of the contract. And he's betting on himself. $4.5 million to go to a boosters initiative. I don't know the exact details of it. I don't want to butcher it, but with the collective bargaining coming, where the schools are going to be actually paying the players up to $20 million or whatever it is, that'll go through that and go to that and fundraising and getting that apparatus taken care of. So that's big. And it's just a prove it year. If you win, if everything's on go and you're running for an ACC title, no worries about no buyouts. You're going to get it right back. You're going to get your 10 million the next couple, or 11 million, whatever it climbs to the next couple of years. So just, another positive sign there from all hands on deck and getting this thing going the right way. I said you needed 4 or 5 coaches at least. You ended up getting 6. Unlike the first time you put this staff together, you got your main guys pretty much everywhere but wide receiver. You hit on your first or second choice. And when you end up with an offensive coordinator from the previous staff as your wide receiver coach, that was a head coach at Booker T. Washington High School, I believe. Hope I didn't get that wrong. Tim Harris, you're doing pretty good. Tons of NFL connections. You're able to retain Patrick Surtain. That's one of the things we were worried about. That happened. I couldn't be happier.
All right. Everyone make it on over to the Renegade Report here in about 15 minutes, 15 to 20 with George. George, we appreciate you being here, making this work for us each and every Wednesday, sir. Want to give you some time to prep, get ready for your 7 p.m. show.
Yes, sir. And we'll see you all there. Make sure you pick up that book. Make it happen.
Disputed National Champions. You'll enjoy it, folks. $9.99. A lot of Florida State stuff in here. Obviously, it's a good decade for FSU, 1990s.
2 really good years, that'll probably make the book. But yeah, the whole decade was pretty awesome for us Florida State fans.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll get there. Starting this year.
All right, George. We'll have to figure out what to do next week, because obviously it's a special day 1 week from today. So we'll figure it out.
Is it Christmas already?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll figure something out. If we want to do something on another day or take off, we'll figure it out. You got the end of the portal. The portal window closes before the next show, so
that's right.
Maybe we'll do something on Thursday or something. I'll leave it up to you, my friend. Just let me know. I don't have it,
George. Have a good show.
Yes, sir.